Welcome everybody to the spaced learning section of the professional summit here today. My name is Cleon McClure. I've been an e-learning guy for a long time, and over the last few years have really taken to heart the kinds of things that a lot of individuals out there are starting to share. So hats off to Dr. Ray Jimenez, Dr. Michael Allen, for individuals out there who are starting to really help us as instructional designers and professional training people to take a look at how we're doing things and how we really need to adapt more to what the learners are doing out there and what the learners need. Spaced learning is a concept that has come up over the last few years and is really part of a extension of some of the strategies of what you already probably are doing out there. It's a really amazing kind of way to have a continuous learning and knowledge feed for your learners out there to really support their performance, help them improve, provide solutions, and really bolster their competence. So in today's session, as we take a look at spaced learning, I want you to think about your own situation. I want you to think about, in your situation, how you learn, how you change, how you update. And as we all know, we go to a class, we go to an online learning, like within a couple of days, we've forgotten a lot. And as you see my diagram out here, by 4 weeks out, we pretty much have forgotten probably 80% of what we had learned originally. Plus, there's new stuff to learn, right? And when was the last time that you actually went back to that online course, or you looked in that 3-ring binder that you got from the classroom, or you looked someplace else to find a solution? And how many times did you wish there was a small bite of information that you could take a look at and really take a second look at or a third look at on a complex task? And how many follow-up trainings did you attend after the class was completed just because you knew it probably didn't apply to you? All right, so huge need for filling this gap of being able to say, I went to training, I probably have forgotten on the forgetting curve out there what I learned mostly. I need a way to pick that up, or I need to find a better way to learn the new things that are going to be added on top of what I had already as part of the learning that I already started. In that gap comes spaced learning. So please don't be overwhelmed by the diagram here. As we take a look at that whole learning events side is all about, and we'll talk about that in a second, your blended learning strategy, right? So that's your online courses, your virtual classrooms, your classrooms, and they have lots of benefit, and a blended strategy, I think, today still has a very, very important role in being able to get some of the initial information out to your learners and be able to do that. But the spaced learning over time, and depending on what you do, the rules of 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, some continuous learning, presenting them with a challenge, have a spaced learning for them to be able to complete, do a secondary challenge, build on that until over a period of time, as you see down in the lower right-hand corner, that there's some kind of certificate that they have earned, and they have really earned it too. It's not a memorized test kind of thing, that it's an application of that learning over a period of time. So enough of that. So as we take a look at how we're going to as we start taking a look at how do we do this spaced learning, is it part of my strategy? How do I actually develop it? How are the learners going to benefit from it? Let's take an additional look at this. So I'm going to guess that a lot of you people out there have a truly blended learning approach. And it may be about your business skills, it may be about leadership, it may be about process, it may be about sales negotiation. Whatever your topics are, spaced learning has a place to be able to do that. And blended learning needs that extension. Blended learning, I believe, needs the spaced learning and continuous learning approach so that learners can be able to take advantage of what they did learn and build on that. If you think of what you're really good at, I want everybody to take a moment and think of what you're really good at. Why are you good at that? Why are you good at some computer skills? Why are you good at some hands-on kinds of skills? Why are you good at whatever that, why are you good at baking? Why are you good at whatever those elements are? It's because you learned the basics. You learned all of the elements of how does that work and how the pieces come together, or what are the ingredients, etc. And then you got to do some hands-on stuff, and you got to do some harder stuff. And over time, you practice those skills, and you've identified what you think is going to be important for you, and you've honed those skills down. That's where spaced learning comes in. So in your blended learning approach, you can start with that overall online learning. So take a look at your strategy. You don't have to throw it away and say, no, we're going to do spaced learning. That's not the point. Blended learning strategy, element number one, at least where I work and what I would recommend to others, is an online learning self-study, right? How do you give them the fundamentals? How do you give them a mobile, online ability, flexible, so that they can take a look at what do I need to know on the must-have information. I happen to use the CCAF methodology by Dr. Michael Allen, and that's all about in context, put it in context, give them a challenge, give them an activity, and give them a feedback. If you haven't seen Dr. Allen's stuff, please, I highly recommend it, because your online courses will change from a factual kind of approach to a truly user-focused, if I tell them what they need to do in context of their job, in context of scenarios, in context of whatever is important to them, then they'll really learn that. So online learning is the first step and the first element in my blended learning. Second is the virtual classroom. Web sessions and the new technology for delivering web sessions, phenomenal stuff, right? Absolutely phenomenal for having interactions and breakout rooms, having all of the capabilities to be able to share information that is now instructor remotely led and actually answer questions that you're building on the online course materials. It becomes a very useful tool in being able to save time and money. No one's traveling, but still being able to have the instructor lead the training. The next for us, because we're in a very complicated kind of industry with medical devices, we actually bring our folks in for a classroom, right? So this is the really truly advanced classroom training, the hands-on demo of how you use the product, the hands-on demos of how do I process that really complex transaction if it's a business skill, how do I take a look at sitting face-to-face with some experts that are in the room who have been out there and been very experienced, who want to share that experience with me so that I can incorporate that and build again on top of what I have in the online learning and the blended learning. I leave the classroom. I'm out 2 weeks. I have my notes. I've been looking. I've been thinking. And then I say, well, what did they say about X? Or what was that ingredient that I was supposed to have? Or they said something new is coming out. I wonder how they're going to do that. Here we go. Here it comes. Now I'm going to introduce the fourth element in a blended learning strategy is the spaced or continuous learning. So you can have this be a multitude of, fill a multitude of different needs for your learners. You can have that be a reinforcing what they've learned already. You can have it be an advancement of adding to what they've already learned. You can have it be a practical kind of application of those concepts and theories and methodologies and process flows that you've already provided to them. But have whatever that is that you would like to share with them, the spaced learning and continuous learning are those small bites of information fed out to your groups. And you can use videos, you can use quizzes. There are some apps out there. There are a lot of different kinds of tools, and we'll talk about that in a second, that you can use that will provide your learners with a, oh, did you see the new space learning? Did you see the new video on? Did you see the new, I really got a lot out of that. That made me think about the kinds of things that I needed to do. That's the kind of reaction that you want to get. And that's also the kind of, if you think of your own, what you're good at, if you haven't done something for a while, or if you haven't gone back to look at something for a while, that whole nasty forgetting curve gets in the way. And once that forgetting curve gets there, getting back up to the point where you were, and then being able to complete what you needed to do is sometimes sometimes can be difficult. So let's not let them drop too far down the forgetting curve, or let's add to what their knowledge is already and make them feel confident that they have some new skills, that they have some new ideas, that they have a new way of doing this, and it is part of the learning process for them as well as for the entire organization. They will love you for this. The blended learning plus kind of approach. So that whole focused training of what's the must-haves in the online learning, some introduction of a very wise and wonderful, if I may, subject matter expert as the instructor on the virtual classroom, some heavy-duty kind of immersion kind of training in the classroom, and then give them the spaced and continuous learning elements as they go forward. So I think that really, really does package it up nicely, and the spaced learning fills that gap for what they need. So reinforcing their learning and improving their skills over time after all of the blended learning comes into place is a very, very important concept. If you think about, again, what you're good at and where you have been, and kinds of things, think of the kinds of things that you really benefit from when you gain additional information, or training and skills. Someone introduces a tip to you, someone introduces some kind of best practice to you, someone introduces a new way of doing things because there's a new tool, someone introduces a new scenario to you because someone found a better way to do it on a process system for the kinds of things that you're working on. That kind of benefit, so whatever those things that you're thinking right now are the kinds of things that your learners are looking for. Your employees gain that knowledge, and you need to supply this in a way that your employees want to gain that knowledge the way they want it and the way that they need it. So providing that continuous learning and being also measuring those results, because a lot of those feedback and element things that come with spaced and continuous learning are the kinds of things that really drive the organization to adapt to the learner's needs. What benefits are you going to receive from that? So these are measurable kinds of benefits, because if you take a look at the indirect benefit or the indirect outcomes of having a spaced learning program, you, I think, will recognize, hopefully you'll recognize that these elements here are all about having your employees and learners be skilled, confident, better prepared, understanding, and be motivated and engaged to be part of what they need to complete in their position, as well as part of the goals for the organization. Now, that may sound a little bit large and grandiose, but I think if you think again of yourself and in a job that you find interesting, that you feel well trained for, that you're going to be ready for promotion, that you are really feeling a part of that organization and goal, spaced learning can help that whole process, as it has been proven out in a couple of situations. So quickly on the benefits here. Benefits are all about reinforcing the first three phases of the blended. I think I've talked about that enough, that the online blended virtual classroom, whatever has been packaged up for them and that they really needed to know, having a spaced learning, continuous learning element to that will certainly be that extension, is a learning extension for that. So advanced concepts. So as much as you can get through your blended learning, or if there's some advanced concepts out there that are in need of some additional training, spaced learning can be very, very useful for that. There are some apps and some additional softwares, etc., out there that can have the spaced learning, which is, again, repetitive, practical application that will challenge, reward, and sort of that gamification concept to engage them in, I want to pull knowledge out. Competitive individuals, people who like to get out there and be part of, I can show you how much I know, I'll share that with others. That whole informal learning is fostered and bolstered too. So you can package this spaced learning up into having that be a benefit, because it can be rather fun, it can be competitive, it can be played out so that it is very much part of helping the employee and doing what's useful for them. Everyone, I hope, is familiar with the WIFM principle, the what's in it for me. Employees find fairly quickly that spaced learning and continuous learning provides a lot of information for what's in it for them. How are you going to do this? Right? So what are some ways that you can quickly provide some spaced learning events, elements out there to be able to share that with users and be able to have that be a continuous, ongoing, kind of connected series of things for them to take a look at and to learn from. One thing that I have worked on over the last couple of years is to be able to find a set of tools that I find quick, efficient, useful, engaging, has the right mix of media-rich capabilities, has all of those elements coming together so that when someone comes into my office and says, hey, Cleon, we really need to have something that's like 3-minute micro-learning about the new product features because the surgeons are saying blah, blah, blah. And I would like, oh, perfect. So give me a subject matter expert, point me in the right direction for the resources that I have either included in the blended learning content, online learning, classroom learning. How do you want me to reinforce that? How do you want me to build on that? And then what do you want me to introduce? And here's the way I'm going to introduce that. So if you think about that, those elements of having a set of tools in your toolbox that you can go and insert already prepared assets and materials, images, videos, etc., for reinforcing things, or that you have subject matter experts who can provide that information and put it into the assets and explain those concepts to you, that with these tools, it's a matter of hours, not days anymore, where you can produce some very sophisticated, engaging-looking kinds of spaced learning for those individuals, and then being able to deliver that. We'll talk about that here in a second. So we're at the point now where in a blended learning strategy, that spaced learning element and extension of what has already happened in being able to share training to individuals, that needs to come to life. There are new concepts and new elements that you need to share. Everyone's bought into that process. You have to be able to deliver on being able to deliver on what is been the promised element for that spaced learning. I'm going to show you here's today's. I'm going to show you I'll share with you the elements of some of the tools that I use. I'm a very big. I'll share this right away. I'm a very big Articulate 360 fan. The RISE course that you're looking at I created it within a matter of hours once I had the images and concepts and so for me to be able to do that. I think Rise does a very professional presentation, almost looks like a web page kind of flow to it, gives you lots of interaction, gives you capability of pulling that information together quickly. So just as one tool in the Articulate 360 world out there, the Rise development tool provides this kind of sophistication in a short period of time. I'm a big believer in videos also, so I have found a couple of video tools that I use because I like the look and feel of the marketing side of what they can present. So let me click over to, this tool is called Videos, play on words with the OZE on this, and it gives you templates. So I think I have 200 templates over here. And being able to adjust the colors, the logos, having the elements come to play with just in a matter of minutes as a starter for some of my course materials is amazing to me. So having that be something that is driven by things that will capture and engage in your themes, etc., is an amazing tool. I think it's amazing to be able to do that. I also have another tool called a Video Maker FX. I love the FX tool because it allows me to use templates and be able to insert my images, insert my text, and insert my colors, and be able to come up with what you're seeing on the screen now in a matter of, again, in a matter of a couple hours rather than a long period of time. So having this be the, again, start of that I now have emotionally connected with the users out there and engaged with them is a phenomenal thing, right? Sorry, so that's a go-kart. I mean, you can put your characters in, you can have all sorts of elements that are in there. So just a couple of video creating tools that I think do a phenomenal job of providing that video start of what I need. I then combine them, again, another call out for the Articulate 360 suite of products is in Articulate 360 Replay gives me the opportunity to combine those videos with other videos, do some editing, do some voiceovers, and off it goes into a nice package. I already talked about the Rise course. I think there are some other short, quick tools that can be done, even a animated PowerPoint in today's world with the Office 365 and other more advanced kinds of concepts allows you to put some really, really good micro-learning together. E-books are becoming a favorite here in the organization because the e-book concept of I can go back and electronically look at something. The e-books that I use are interactive. I can insert videos. I can have the images. I can have concepts. I can have glossaries. I can have terminology. I'll just give you a quick peek at. Here's my presentation today, where I downloaded it as a PDF and now has become an ebook. So the learners, if I wanted to, I could go back into this and highlight things, make interactions, have videos inserted, be able to share additional information, and have it be a place where that they, from a space learning, sort of almost as a reference kind of learning, be able to take, have access to this and be able to see what's going on and be able to refresh and reinforce their learning on that also. I'm hoping this makes sense. I'm hoping that if you take a look at that, one of my goals today was not only introducing space learning to some of you, but also introducing that space learning and how to develop a product for that, or how to develop the actual content and learning elements of that can be relatively easy and inexpensive. For all of those video tools and the ebook, that's probably, they're all less than $200 or $300 a year to be a part of. The Articulate 360, a little more expensive, is a license of $1,300 a year right now for a subscription, but worth every penny for the rise, the replay, the storyline, the review concepts, all of those things that are part of that tool, which I really, really do appreciate. And a call out to the eLearning heroes, by the way, for some of the concepts that you're hearing today. The last piece is gamification. Now, we're getting into a couple of additional game apps here at my organization, really trying to identify that everyone's on an iPhone. They like trivia. There are additional challenges for each other. There are quizzes. We like to have the leaderboard. We can do some badging. There are some great tools out there for them to be able to do gamification. There are even some gamification tools if you start to look at your learning management systems also. We happen to use Litmos as our learning management system. Allows us to have a leaderboard, allows us to assign points and badges for courses completed out there. So a little bit of additional concept on top of the space learning, but gamification becomes very, very useful. And the apps now, because they are becoming less expensive, are also very, very powerful tools that you can use with your individuals. All right, how am I going to deliver this? You have some different delivery methods to be able to do that. I already mentioned my learning management system. There's some ways that you can deliver your micro-learnings, the RISE courses, do audio and podcasts, get your quizzes out there. You can have it timely sent. You can have elements of what you already produced as part of videos, etc., be packaged up differently and put on your learning management system so that they're delivered that way if your organization's familiar with that. We have an internal video channel where we're allowed to have, let's think of it as a channeled YouTube version, internal YouTube version where we can put our videos. We have an internal website. We have a massive website where our pages are, our internal web pages have the flexibility and look and feel of an external page that you'd see out on the internet, but also allows us to have internal security so we can post our information there. And then smartphones. Where are you going to get the apps in for, especially for gamification? So delivery for us is a bit across 2 or 3 elements: the learning management system, the website, and our internal video channel, which can be a little confusing for users. I'll be upfront with you there. But if you can package that up and have them look for that, or push the links out to them in some way, that they'll get the idea and soon will be very much engaged in a space learning and continuous learning kind of mode. All right, we've talked about a lot. We talked about a huge amount of, all right, from a strategic standpoint, where does space learning fit in? We talked about some concepts of if I do this right, and what does that consist of, how my learners will benefit from that, so that if we can give them what they want, if they have the knowledge that's gained, if their skills increase, if their performance improves, if we fill their minds, right, if we reverse that forgetting curve and really minimize that so they fill back up with the knowledge that they need, that there's going to be a new mindset out there, and you're going to see a bunch of new results happening. Because as you gain skills in preparing and being part of the space learning development and using your knowledge as trainers, developers, managers, whatever your role is, so that your employees have access to this kind of continuous learning, I think you'll find that with the extended strategy, with the request for feedback to meet the learner's needs, with the focus on the high value, using creative tools, making it fun, useful, and measured, that you'll really, really want to start your space learning today. I hope you've enjoyed this session very much. I have. It made me think about the things that I'm doing right, maybe that I could do better, and I really enjoyed providing you with hopefully a few insights about what space learning, how space learning can help your organization. Take care.